Hello, good morning, good afternoon, welcome. I'm very pleased to be joined by Søren Bjerregaard. Søren is the, I think, CEO of Hydrogen Valley there in Denmark, and it's hard at work trying to build some of those sort of projects and Hydrogen Valley, obviously, as the name. So welcome, Søren. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Nadim, and thanks for having me. I think it's right now it's really going good. It's in this sense, a lot of projects trying to get to the FID, and I think that we're really making progress, but really a lot of obstacles post the Ukraine Russia crisis, and also raising interest rates and these things. So really an uphill battle right now, but I think there's a lot of momentum going still in the hydrogen industry.
Yeah, we've seen certainly, I guess, those sort of macroeconomic challenges, as you were, in terms of obviously Ukraine conflict has impacted obviously gas prices, steel prices. We're seeing, obviously, you're speaking to from Copenhagen. We've seen Ørsted has had a rocky journey with a number of sort of cancellations of big projects, I think, in the US, and so there's been a sort of reset, I guess, of the environment, which it makes it tough to build new projects, tough to scale a new industry, which is essentially what hydrogen is. But there's been a body of research, a regulation and policy now, which has helped to, I guess, underpin some project activity. So what are your thoughts around that? Those projects, you're beginning to develop projects, but maybe at a smaller scale, and what sort of pockets of technology are interesting for you?
Yeah, I totally agree that right now, if we sit and wait for the gigawatt projects, I know that's what makes sense when you look at an Excel sheet. But if we sit and we just wait for that, I think we're going to wait for a long time, because with the prices for steel and the raising interest prices, I think it will be very hard to see a solid business case, even if you go very large scale. But you have tons of risk by going to that extent. So we need, in my opinion, to make more of these stepwise projects, where you create these 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts, even though the business case will only run around. But if you can get the customer to the customer willingness to pay to an extent where they can accept some sort of green premium based on a 100 megawatt, for example, transforming it to methanol. I think that's where we will have a lot of learning. We will have a lot of traction going our way, instead of just sitting and waiting and saying, okay, we need legislation, we need regulation, we need standardization. I know we need all these things, but we also need to keep on moving. We cannot stand still and wait for these things to happen, for the interest rates to go down again, for steel prices to go down. We need to keep on moving in order to show that this industry can become viable. One of the places where I see uh, attraction right now is actually in port environments, where you have a very local industry, so you don't have to transport the energy around. You have a lot of energy use. You have a lot of use for hydrogen locally, meaning that you can bring your transport costs down. Also, biogas plants. That's really one of the things we're looking at in Denmark right now. Biogas plants is really key, because you have a very high CO2 level in the exhaust gas from biogas plants. So you can really create a lot of, for example, methanol or methanization projects. Is very viable in biogas plants, and this fits normal biogas plants, fits this 25 megawatt electrolyzer, and that's actually viable right now, and we can create a lot of learning out of that, out of those sizes of projects. So my pledge is to try to get these a little bit smaller sizes out in the next coming years, to keep the ball rolling.
And in terms of the other applications around the supporting the grid, obviously the huge wind energy and the variability issues, you're getting traction there with the TSO or people interested in using hydrogen to help balance the grid.
Definitely, and I think that's one of the larger projects going on in my region right now is the Green Hydrogen Hub. The Green Hydrogen Hub is a collective electrolyzer project and salt cavern hydrogen storage project, where you also combine that with a compressed air energy storage in the end, so you can actually transform the hydrogen back to energy. So you have this 300 plus megawatts storage and power plant facility actually. So you can create your hydrogen and store it in August and September, where you have a lot of sun and a lot of wind, and then in a day, not like today actually, it's quite sunny outside, but a day where it isn't sunny and isn't windy, then you can take the hydrogen out again and you can transform it back to green energy a half year later. So these large scale storage facilities are going to be key, and hydrogen storage is the only way I can see that happening in Denmark. So that's also really balancing the grids in this sense.
And in terms of, we were speaking before, and you also mentioned about the new developments happening with the solid oxides. Well, what do you think the role solid oxides could play for also working around the grid?
I think actually with looking at a large amount of Danish companies and also German companies looking into this solid oxide, and I think everyone can agree that it has the best energy efficiency if you can make it happen, right? If you can overcome the obstacles that have been endured by solid oxide electrolyzers over the last 15-20 years. But if you can overcome these obstacles and actually we're beginning to see some traction in that direction. Topsø is creating a large-scale solid oxide electrolyzer production facility not so long away from where I'm sitting today, and we're beginning to see smaller companies like, for example, Dyn Electro, beginning to see that traction where you can actually use the fundamentals in solid oxide electrolyzers for balancing the grid. So you can actually achieve a solid ramp up, ramp down rate and time. So meaning that you can actually bid on the first reserve markets and help balancing the grid on all active reserve markets, and that's going to be key in the future. So you can have these electrolyzer plants put into the energy grid without it harming the grid, because we can see that in Denmark right now already today with the new number of electrical cars going out. It's really starting to be that we do not have enough electricity grid in Denmark. It's becoming red in a lot of the graphs that I'm seeing, and that's even in the next year and the year after that, we're beginning to see power lines that are not large enough for the large amounts of energy you want to transport around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the sheer scale is you obviously got, the heat pump market as well is growing considerably, and the electric car market. And in terms of the existing grid and the developing the grid, there must be sort of huge costs around building out all of that infrastructure to cope with the peak power when the peaks are going to get higher and higher. So is there the research around showing that integrating hydrogen can help reduce those costs and have a much more optimized system?
I think some of the numbers I've seen in Denmark is that if you want to build out the electricity grid in a manner where you can actually bring all the energy around that you can produce in the Northern Sea. That's one of the big problems in Denmark. I think that's one of the big problems everywhere, that you have energy production in one part of the country and energy consumption in another part of the country. So if you want to build out the energy grid to accompany that, I think you need, I think it's 20 to 30 billion euro investments in the electricity grid at a minimum in order to do that. So a way cheaper way to transport your energy around is by implementing this hydrogen backbone. I know that's also expensive, but that's much less expensive than HVDC cables. And actually, that's what we're beginning to see right now. That you want to apply this this hydrogen backbone along the way, along the west coast of Denmark, transport the energy in from offshore, transforming it into hydrogen, and then transporting it around as hydrogen, both internally in Denmark and also to Germany. So what we're beginning to seeing right now is actually we have had 5 to 7 large-scale CHP plants in Denmark. But what we're beginning to see is, if we want to have this these energy structure in the future, how do you do that? Because you cannot create these large-scale power to X parks. They will need energy instead of producing energy, right? So how do you do that? We need to transform our energy system from a centralized energy system to a decentralized energy system. How do you do that? That's totally in the other direction than what you have been doing until now. So really a lot of interesting debates going on right now on how do you transform your energy system into a green one.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be, and I'm sure Denmark will be at the forefront, and indeed that's one of the reasons we're relocating our World Hydrogen Week or World Hydrogen Congress to Copenhagen later this year. So talking of events, you'll be at our next event, which is at World Electrolysis Congress, which is in Düsseldorf. I think you're chairing a session, so be great to catch up with you face to face there, and we look forward to the hydrogen only growing and the work growing. So thanks for the work you're doing, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with me today, Søren.
Thanks. Yeah, you too. I think it's a great conference, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Düsseldorf and later this year in Copenhagen.
Excellent. Many thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.